Number of positive cases per 100,000 of the population is now more than 100, and that is worrying local authorities. But it's not just that figure that's worrying them. There's also been an increase in the number of positive cases in hospitals and an increase in the proportion of people testing positive, with children able to attend school and people able to go back to work. But they do come as the big universities in Newcastle, Sunderland and Durham get ready to welcome students back.
It's interesting times. OK, Olivia, thank you so much. Olivia Richwell there for us in Sunderland.
Care homes in England are to receive extra funding. A
rapid coronavirus test has been developed that can accurately diagnose an infection within 90 minutes without needing a specialist laboratory.
A warm sort of day ahead for many of us today, but similar to yesterday, it is going to be quite breezy, especially across southern parts of England. Well, that clears away, and then we're looking at blue skies for many of us. It'll feel reasonably warm too, with temperatures about 16 to 24 degrees. 24 degrees on Saturday, but you'll certainly notice that breeze through the weekend. It's a fine weekend for getting out in your garden as well. And join me in about half an hour where we'll be bringing you some tips about how to get involved with autumn planting. Back to you both.
Yes, look forward to having a look around there a little later on. Thanks, Sarah.
You've got green fingers.
I like spending time in the garden.
Well, that wasn't
Is that the same thing?
No, that wasn't what I asked you.
Sit down, cup of tea, look at the garden. Lovely.
Have you got green fingers?
I like spending time in the garden. Sit down, cup of tea, comfortable chair. That's my kind of thing, yes.
I'm getting a deja vu, Charlie, and it's not a good thing. Do you have green fingers?
6:14 on a Friday morning. Let's have a look at the papers. The headlines. Ahead of what he may be saying, North East lockdown.
That the number of people testing positive in England has risen by 75%. They're making the front page. It reports that the NHS is facing nearly one.
Return to some English Football League games this weekend for the first time in 6 months. Charlton Athletic will welcome back up to 1,000 supporters to the Valley. It's one of 8 matches taking part in the government's crowd pilots taking place this weekend. Let's take a look at the travel situation now then. There's a good service on the tubes this morning. Brief look at the roads then, and we can see a clear road. Let's take a look at the weather now with Sarah Thornton.
Good morning to you. Another fine start this morning.
I'm back with the latest from BBC London in half an hour. Plenty more on our website, Facebook, and bye-bye for now.
Good morning. You're watching Breakfast with Charlie Stayt and Naga Munchetty.
Time now 6:32. Mike's here with all the sport in just a moment.
Also on.
Let's bring you right up to date with today's main stories.
Called fee as well, so Spurs did pretty well out of it financially, £85 million. But he's coming back to North London on a season-long loan. Bale's departure from Real Madrid has been a long time coming. His reported salary is £600,000 per week, and yet he's not been a regular starter in Spain. So obviously, there were a lot of questions afterwards for manager Jose Mourinho about Mr Bale and the move, but he wouldn't play ball.
Comment on something that I don't know. For me, in this moment, until I am told that Gareth Bale is a Tottenham player, I still think and feel and respect the fact that he's a Real Madrid player. So I'm not going to comment on.
Problem. Johanna Konta, though, is likely to be there, and she looks in good form on the hopefully a bit of wind. I've only ever had them in foot golf, which still great feeling. You've had 2 yesterday.
No, not for a long time. Charlie doesn't believe in them.
Really? Oh, you questioned that? Yeah, that one that.
Oh no, that was a one-off.
Remember that lovely gentleman we had?
Yeah, because we didn't have the photographic evidence.
Yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah.
It was a one-off, and we don't want to revisit that because it stirred up a problem, frankly. 6:43 is the time now. We're outdoors a lot this morning. RHS Wisley, which is in Surrey, in the greenhouse, I'm guessing. Sarah, going to get out later.
I am indeed. Yes, good morning to you, Charlie and Naga. Yes, I'm at RHS Garden Wisley this morning. At the moment, I'm inside their Alpine display house. There are lots of beautiful bulbs around here, and the RHS are running a campaign, Grow at Home, this autumn. So trying to increase awareness about how important the autumn season is for gardeners. And of course, there are thousands of newly acquired green finger skills across the UK, as many people have taken up gardening during lockdown. So you might be wondering what to do after your spring and your summer planting. Well, autumn right now is a really key time, and this week is National Bulb Planting Week. So get out there, plant some bulbs in your garden, and you'll certainly be rewarded during the springtime. Now, how is the weather looking? Well, here it's quite a fresh start to the morning. Temperatures about 8 degrees or so here in Wisley, and in fact across the UK, quite a fresh autumnal feel to the weather out there first thing this morning. Get out and about in your garden. Back to you both.
Sarah, thanks very much.
There are new rules for the hospitality industry which come in.
Backdrop you have there, Ben, and the weather is good. People could be going out, but I mean, this is a tricky time, isn't it, for pubs, and just how they work within the restrictions, which are various depending on where you are.
Yeah, morning to you. Yeah, we're just down by the River Thames in Chiswick this morning. As Sarah was telling us, a glorious start to the day, but as you've touched on, lots for the hospitality industry to contend with right now, and lots for them to be thinking about over the next few weeks. I mean, look, places like this are going to have to contend with new rules. So let me explain what they are, because either side of the border, one in England, one in Wales, they are right next door to each other. And we've been asking them how the last few weeks have been.
Great British Beach Clean. It's been going on for years and years, always really, really successful. A really useful way as well to find out exactly the amount of litter that's discarded. I think they had 500 pieces per. Of course, Lizzie, morning. Lizzie Pryor from the Marine Conservation Society. Things are slightly different this year because you're extending the clean. Tell us why you're doing that.
Yeah, so we've made it longer this year, just so we can spread out the beach cleans and get more people involved.
A couple of months ago, and of course we had those terrible scenes, didn't we, when lockdown started to ease. Much indeed. Thanks again to the other volunteers. As I say, the message of course is to get involved, especially if you live near the coast. Get down there and see what you can find. Help to keep our coastlines as clean and tidy as they can possibly be. Talk to you later.
Well, those wonderful images. Thank you very much, John. Back with you, of course, throughout the morning. Time now, though, to get the news, the travel and the weather where you are.
Greenhouse now. I'm not sure if you're going to stay there all morning, Sarah. Is it going to be a lovely day there?
Good morning to you, Naga and Charlie. It is going to be a beautiful day, not only here, but really up and down the country as well. Now, I'm inside the Alpine display house at the moment, and this area is showcasing mountainous plants, and even the plants here in the Alpine Display Centre are socially distanced, so they're well spaced apart to encourage the public to stay well apart when viewing their flowers. Now, the RHS are running a campaign, Grow at Home, this autumn, and we're really celebrating National Bulb Planting Week, because it is the time of year to get out there, plant bulbs in your garden, and they'll be coming up in the spring. Now, today then, what about the weather? Well, it's quite a fresh start to the day here, and actually up and down the country. It's quite a chilly start first thing this morning. We've even had a few mist and fog patches, but most of us are in for a fairly sunny, warm and largely dry day in the sunshine, and it looks like another fine day to come on Sunday as well. So a good weekend for getting out there and planting your autumn bulbs that should be coming up in time for spring. Back to you both.
Sarah, thanks very much.
The government's considering plans for nationwide measures to try to slow a surge of coronavirus cases.
One end of the country or from the Midlands travelling to Liverpool to do work. And for me, those things have to be stopped.
Regional restrictions. If you're seeing this cross-border travel, in between regions, it becomes a national thing. Do you think a nationwide restriction, as we saw in March, do you think that's the answer?
Yes. And the reason why is because we can't risk, going into a longer, lockdown.
So when do you think? Sorry to interrupt, but when do you think? Because you're dealing with it in Liverpool. You want national lockdown when? Tell me how it should look.
Well, it should look very similar to what we had going back to April. We've got to, I think, enforced some of the rules that we've put in place that we've learned we needed to do from April to May. For instance, about take the action that we did, in April and May, and let's go into a stronger lockdown. That's inevitable if we don't address the problem.
Has this message been put across by you to the government? You want national lockdown now?
I think it's a question of school again because of infections in those schools, either by other students or staff. That's likely to get to be arrested.
Joe Anderson, Mayor of Liverpool, thank you very much for your thoughts with us this morning.
Let's get another view on how things are in the hospitals in the UK.
And loneliness.
It's been launched in memory of his late wife, Pamela. And in a moment, we'll hear more about the charities that will benefit. First, though, here's Captain Tom telling us why helping others is so important to him.
When Pamela was in the home, she had me as a visitor, and really that's one of the things of the foundation, is to help lonely people and people who are in difficulties, not necessarily old people, but there are some young people who really are not properly looked after. So the foundation is out there to help all sorts of people where a little bit of hope will do them some good.
Now, I know that Captain Tom is very, very keen to see this money and this foundation support 4 charities, including the mental health charity Mind and the Royal British Legion and 2 hospices.
So joining us now is Paul Farmer, who's Chief Executive of Mind. Nadia Sach, whose 3-year-old son, Rayan, has been receiving care at the Helen and Douglas House Children's Hospital. Very good morning to you. Nadia, let's start with you. And tell us a little bit about your situation and what's been happening with your family.
So we were first introduced to Helen and Douglas House back in 2014. We didn't know what to expect when we heard about hospices, and we had another son who unfortunately has passed away now, and he used the hospice for end of life and palliative care, and it was amazing. The job they did and the special memories we made with him were absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, a few months later, with Rayan, we realised he also had a condition, and we were back to the hospice. But again, they welcomed us with open arms, and the care they give is just, we can't thank them enough. For us, it's like a home from home. Memories as a family, and spending and the care team make it so special for us. They don't just look after the children; they look after the whole family. So it's something that's,
Thanks, Nadia. Paul, let's talk to you, the Chief Executive of Mind. How important is it being part of this foundation that Captain Tom is setting up?
Well, morning, Naga. I think your viewers saw yesterday the really powerful interview you had with Captain Tom, and what an incredibly inspirational figure he is for so many people. And the formation of his foundation, I think, is going to raise much needed funds for many important charities, including our own at Mind. And it comes at a really important point for us as a charity and many other charities where funds are tight.
Not just, those who need treatment are being treated, but the families are considered as well, because the pressure on them to, when you're visiting and trying to be positive and then getting on with everyday life and dealing with all the stuff we all deal with, how important is it that you get that support?
Oh, it's very important. Like I said, it's a lifeline for us. I couldn't imagine being without a hospice. They support not just a respite. They have an outreach team where they can come out home to see the child. They have a sibling support, so the siblings get support as well. They have a bereavement team. So obviously, when my other son died, we had that support from them. And just a place where we can make memories together. The environment and atmosphere is beyond imaginable. And I'd say to people, they can self-refer, they can go to the website, get all the information, their consultants can refer them. And it's something they will treasure because it is an amazing place.
Well, Paul, just pick up on that for us, because, I mean, to be honest, I think Nadia's approach to everything that's gone on with her family is extraordinary, isn't it? And that family's resilience and the reaching out for help and help being there. it is so important that when people are in need, they reach out, and people are getting better about doing that now, but we still know there are lots of people who don't.
That's absolutely right, and Nadia's story and experience, shows the huge importance of the charities that the Captain Tom Foundation are supporting for so many people who feel as though there isn't anywhere to turn to. And I think it's part of what we do at Mind, where we're trying to break down the stigma, which means you can say it's okay not to be okay. As
Chief Executive of Mind, and particularly Nadia, thank you so much for sharing your story with us this morning. Really good to talk to you. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's 27 minutes past 7.
Next week.
I'm back with the latest from BBC London in an hour. There are more stories throughout the morning on BBC Radio London. Now, though, it's back to Charlie and Naga. Bye.
Good morning. You're watching Breakfast with Charlie Stayt and Naga Munchetty.
As we've been hearing this morning, the government could enforce tighter national...
Secretary Matt Hancock.
Well, there isn't a precise figure on it because we all know these are uncertain times. Very good to have me on. Thank you very much.
7:46 is the time now. Mike, I guess if you spend a fortune on one of the world's biggest football players,
has gone to a woman. The Billie Jean King Cup finals are scheduled for April in Budapest.
I'm trying to wrap my head around it, and I think about a lot what we can do with this opportunity. What I can
change modern sport generally, doesn't it?
Yeah. Not just tennis.
Across all sport. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Let's talk to Sarah. Sarah's at RHS Wisley. She's been hiding in the greenhouse all morning, but I think it's warming up nicely and they've let you out, Sarah. Morning.
They have. Good morning to you, Naga and Charlie. Yes, it's a stunning start to the day here at RHS Wisley. We've got blue skies, barely a cloud in the sky. The birds are tweeting in the trees, and behind me there's a view over the rock garden. Now, this is one of the oldest parts of the garden here at Wisley, dating back over 100 years, and you can see across to the glass house, which was added in 2007. Now, this time of year, the gardeners here at Wisley are going to be embarking on their autumn planting, so planting bulbs in the ground now, such as daffodils, tulips, for instance, as well, and they'll be coming out during the spring months. And that's something that the RHS are encouraging people to get involved with at home as well. Go and plant your own autumn bulbs this time of year while the soil is still warm, and we should see a bit of rain on the way through the autumn and winter, and those bulbs will be coming out in spring. Now, today then, what about the weather? Well, a fine, settled start to the day, certainly here, and really across the UK, we're looking at a largely dry and settled picture. It's going to be quite a warm and a sunny feel to the weather today, but story over the next couple of days. It's looking like a decent weekend for getting out and about, doing some gardening, and don't forget to plant those bulbs around about now and for the next 6 weeks. Back to you both.
Sarah, that is an extraordinarily beautiful scene just immediately behind you, isn't it? So rich, the colours and the greens, just beautiful.
Sarah, what bulbs would you be planting?
It's beautiful. Oh, let's think. What about some crocuses? They've got a huge collection, national collection of crocuses here, so I'm inspired to go and plant some crocuses myself.
Pretty. Charlie, you didn't tell me earlier if you had green fingers.
I'm quite good at mowing. Is that helpful? Does that qualify? I think it does.
Well, it's all tending to your garden, isn't it?
Sort of, yeah. 7:53 the time now. So, extraordinary story. After the discovery of a tumour meant minutes past 8, just time for a look at the weather. Sarah's at RHS Wisley this morning in Surrey. I think we can officially say, Sarah, that is a beautiful place.
It is beautiful here. Yes, a stunning start to the day. I can tell you there are worse places to watch the sunrise than here at RHS Wisley in Surrey. It's a gorgeous day. We've got barely a cloud in the sky. A stunning view here over the rock garden, which is more than 100 years old, over to the glass house, which was added in 2007. And the gardeners here are going to be embarking on their autumn planting soon, so getting the bulbs in the ground this time of year, and they'll be coming up at spring. That's something the RHS are encouraging people to get involved with at home as well. So if you've got some newly acquired gardening skills due to lockdown, where a lot of people have been spending more time at home and in their gardens as well, don't put the tools away just yet, because it's time to be planting those bulbs that should be coming out in time for spring. So what about the weather for gardeners and for growers? Well, things are looking generally dry over the next couple of days because we've got high pressure very much driving our weather at the moment. So today, a sunny, warm feeling day around those east coasts where the wind is coming in off the North Sea. But we are looking like a fine, dry weekend ahead. Great weekend for getting out, planting your autumn bulbs this weekend, which should be coming up during the spring. Naga and Charlie.
Sarah, thanks very much. It really is lovely. We'll see you later.
Time now is 8 minutes past 8.
From Sand Bay, just north of Weston, back to you guys in the studio.
Yeah, and in fact, we're going to just linger on the shot way above you there, John, because it's so lovely. Right now, it's time to get the news, the travel and the weather where you are.
I'm coming down to the beach to enjoy the environment, to enjoy the sea and to be by the coastline, and it's a shame that, unfortunately, they're leaving it behind, and it's a very simple thing to do. You know, you can bring it to the beach, so it's really simple just to take it away with you, and otherwise, you know, this could cause real harm to us.
Just to the shoreline here, Gary, and just have a quick chat with a couple more of our volunteers. Kaylee, hi, how are you getting on?
Yeah, really well,
what sort of weird and wonderful things have you been finding this morning?
Finding all sorts of plastic. Unfortunately, plastic is the most common item that is found on beaches, and it's quite sad to see. This is a beach that is quite regularly cleaned as well. On the surface, it doesn't look like there is a lot of litter to the environment.
Good to see people out and about cleaning this stuff up, though, isn't it, really? And back here, tell us how that works.
Yeah, so you basically, on your local beach, you choose a 100-metre stretch, and then you have a line of people and you work your way up that stretch.
With Bow as well, I mean, that really is an exciting forward line. That would take some stopping. That would send fear through any defence in the country. So exciting times ahead, I think, this year for Tottenham.
Yeah, and even if Spurs do pay 40% of the reported £600,000.
I think he's worth the money, and I think that it's a loan for a season, so there's no long-term. They've not got to pay a transfer fee. There's no long-term 3-year, 4-year contract.
And how ironic if he does go down to Southampton this weekend, where, of course, Spurs play on Sunday, and he made his debut as a 16-year-old back in 2006 against Millwall in the Championship.
Yeah, I was there when he was a kid at Southampton, but I switched him and pushed him forward because he gave you more going forward as a left winger, and he became, for me, the third best player in the world behind Messi and Ronaldo. So, listen, it's so exciting for everybody at Tottenham. As I say, he can make the difference. He's one of those players that can change everything for a football club, and I think that's what he'll do.
Harry, thanks so much for your time here. And also, I can see why you were king of the jungle. I've got such garden envy looking at all the shrubbery behind you there. The red, is it rhododendron? No, I'm useless with flowers. What are those red things over your right shoulder? It's beautiful.
Don't ask me. I just sit there and look. Please, I wouldn't know one flower from another, but I do love looking at flowers. So,
Harry,
Naga can tell us.
Harry, it's Naga in the studio. Morning to you.
How you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. I'm very, very well. Lovely talking to you. You know, Sarah, Keith Lucas, is at RHS Wisley this morning in Surrey. So if you want any tips for gardening, because obviously someone's taking good care of your garden, you could listen to her. What would you like to know?
Well, I just water the plants. That's about the only part I plant. The system. Have you watered the plants? So if I go and get the hose and I stand there for an hour, I enjoy that. I find it very therapeutic.
Well, Harry, do you know what? Harry, it's Charlie here in the studio. I think that's.
But I do love looking at flowers. So,
Harry.
Well, I just water the plants. I stand there for an hour, I enjoy that. I find it very therapeutic.
Well, Harry, do you know what? Harry, it's Charlie here in the studio. I think that's very important. Well, where are you on the mowing? Do you get involved in the mowing?
No, Charlie, we've got AstroTurf.
Oh, he couldn't play in the Premier League on the garden.
That is cheating at gardening. What a joy. Harry, thank you so much for joining us. It's been lovely talking to you. There's look, a footballer cheating at grass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Football manager.
Little insight there.
Thank you.
Unlike no AstroTurf, where Sarah is this morning. What a beautiful place you're in. There you go. We know about Harry's back garden now.
Good morning to you, Naga and Charlie. Yes, I'm at RHS Wisley this morning. Stunning views here. You can just about see the autumn colours starting to come through. And if you're watching from home, perhaps you're one of those thousands of people that have taken up gardening during lockdown. Now, autumn is not the time to stop. A really important time of year in the gardening calendar. And joining me now is Peter Goodchild. He's Alpine team leader here at Wisley. So, Peter, why is autumn so important?
So it's important because we want to get the plants into the ground with the warm soil temperatures, just to encourage them to put on some root growth before the winter comes, and then they can take up the moisture from that. And then obviously with the bulbs that we're going to show you later in a minute, they can give you an amazing display through the spring. So on that note, so with the bulbs here, we've got a few pots of like crocus and the tulips, and today I'm going to show you how to do repotting of the lasagna planting.
Lasagna planting, that sounds delicious.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
So I'm going to do my best cooking display today of layers of bulbs. So we've got tulips, we're going to put some hyacinths in there, and then some iris and crocus as well. So I'll start off. So we've got the tulips in there already. We've put some mesh down in the bottom of the pot just to stop the general compost going through, and then space the tulips out evenly, so when they come up you get a good display. So I'll put the compost on. You want to get the bulbs in about twice the depth of them up, and then you want them pointy bulb, the pointy part of the bulb facing up.
Okay.
So again, spacing them out evenly.
Okay, so you can just do these layers, so you can put the different layers in like that, cover them, and then they'll come through at different stages in spring.
Yeah, so the idea is that you want to have, like, obviously the larger bulbs at the bottom so they get their depth, and then we're going to pick bulbs that flower at different stages.
Okay.
So
that is great. So lasagna planting. Thank you so much, Peter, for showing us how to do those bulbs in that lasagna layers. Now, what about the weather then? If you're hoping to do a bit of planting through the weekend, it is looking fine and dry for most of us. High pressure in charge. So today, a sunny, warm day. Weekend ahead. Naga and Charlie.
Sarah, I'm listening carefully. Can we have a little quiet? Well, no offence, but listen to the bird song. Well, it was sort of on cue, wasn't it? Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, the blackbirds are tweeting above my head.
There you go.
Sarah,
thank you.
One bit of music to another, eh?
Yes.
The iconic rock band Pink Floyd is one of the best-selling artists of all time. Now, some of forgotten tracks have been given a new lease of life.
With a little help from the Blockheads and Spandau Ballet, the band's drummer Nick Mason has now released an album which celebrates some of the group's classics. So now, very good morning to you, Nick.
Morning.
Good morning.
Now, we should explain, really, because we're just showing a little bit of those images there of you playing with this new kind of supergroup, I think you call it. And obviously, we can see a crowd there. This is all pre-lockdown.
Well, absolutely. And it was done more or less a year ago now, and we've been waiting like sort of broody hens, really, to lay this egg.
And tell us about the egg. So just explain the project initially. What was the idea?
Well, the idea really was to explore this early catalogue of Pink Floyd, because it's something that's really not been heard enough, I think. And also, it's an opportunity for us, and particularly for me, to be able to play again after what amounts to more or less a 20-year layoff.
Well, you're the only member. One of the facts that people should know is you're the only member to play on every studio album. So you know the music pretty well. When you were picking who to collaborate with, what was kind of your list of criteria?
Well, rather sadly, I didn't actually pick this band. This band picked me.
And how did that
work? Lee Harris, the guitarist, came up with this idea of playing the early catalogue. He took it to Guy Pratt. Guy liked the idea, told me that it was a good idea, and so I was guaranteed a job because of the name of the band. An element of déjà vu, because the first time we ever played at the Roundhouse was actually October 1966, when it would only just finished being a turntable for the engines, and then a Gilbey's a gin store for bonded alcohol.
Well,
I think it's one of the. I mean, obviously, lovely to talk to you this morning. I'm sure you're very much looking forward to getting back and playing live.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I just think we're all just waiting around. We're waiting for the gate to open, really.
Yeah, well, who knows when that will happen, and all sorts of restrictions, as we know, in place, and lots of problems for people in the industry. But, Nick, lovely to speak to you today, Nick Mason, of course, the drummer from Pink Floyd. And there will be a lot of very devoted Pink Floyd fans who will be so pleased that that material is emerging.
I'm quite looking forward to it. It's called Saucerful of Secrets, live at the Roundhouse. It is released today. Soon, we're going to be talking about e-scooters. You know, there was a trial to put them on the roads, and now that's being kind of withdrawn. Wouldn't mind hearing your views. We'll be back with you shortly. It's 8:59. How many a week?
Twice a week he has a fish finger sandwich.
What are the things you've learned? Anyway, 13 minutes past 9. I'm going to leave you with a gorgeous view from Weston-super-Mare. Do enjoy the rest of your day.